We have somebody in custody right now. Now, in the bushes where this guy was is an AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of.
The suspected gunman in an assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump has been charged with federal gun crimes. Donald Trump was the target of another attempted assassination on Sunday. Trump was golfing in Florida at his Trump International Golf Course when the shooter came within 300 to 500 yards of the former president, aiming a rifle through the perimeter of the course. Secret Service agents quickly spotted the muzzle and fired shots at the man, who fled on foot after dropping an AK-47 style rifle. The shooter was apprehended a short time later by authorities, but it's another sign of growing tensions and unprecedented events in this election cycle. Joining me now to help understand what we know about the suspected shooter and where the investigation stands is the Hill's national political reporter, Julia Manchester. Julia, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. What do we know about Ryan Wesley Routh, the suspect in Sunday's assassination attempt?
Yeah, so we know that he has ties to North Carolina and Hawaii, Michael, and we know that he also was very vocal about wanting to recruit Americans to go fight in the Ukraine's war against Russia. So definitely somewhat politically active, but we're still getting more information the more we learn about the investigation.
And this is the second attempted assassination against former President Trump, and now the Secret Service will face even more scrutiny. We know the suspect was fired upon by Secret Service agents. President Biden spoke out today and had this to say.
Thank God the president's okay. I think we got a full report so far. We're down there tonight. But one thing I want to make clear, the service needs more help. And I think the Congress should respond to their needs if they in fact need more services.
Biden called on Congress to provide more resources, but are there any signs that there was another failure on their part in protecting Trump?
You know, we don't know exactly if there was an official failure. Look, Trump is not a sitting president, so he does not get the same sort of detail that, say, Joe Biden would get, for example. However, he's a former president and he's a presidential candidate, so he does have a detail. And we do know that the Secret Service was able to obviously spot the shooter and prevent, a more catastrophic event from happening. But lots of questions as to whether someone like Trump should have more Secret Service protection than he already did.
And both sides of the aisle quickly called for toned-down rhetoric in the wake of that first assassination attempt against Trump. But I think it's pretty safe to say that didn't last very long. Will this be another key moment for both campaigns to tone down their messaging and focus again on unifying Americans, or are partisan politics going to take over again?
I think, unfortunately, partisan politics are going to take over. A lot of it has to do with this being so close to the election. Remember, the last time there was that assassination attempt against former President Trump, he immediately walked into the Republican National Convention just a day and a half later. So we've seen that politics, the speed of the news cycle, have really taken over. So it makes it difficult for these calls for toned-down rhetoric to really take hold.
And there's already a House task force investigating the July Trump assassination attempt. What has that group said about yesterday's incident?
Well, look, they've condemned it and they are calling for the Secret Service to brief them. So this will be yet another grilling, or a potential grilling, by lawmakers, Republican and Democrat, again, on the Secret Service. The first time around, we saw that the director of the Secret Service at the time ended up stepping down. So the Secret Service still facing these very tough questions.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Julia Manchester, national political reporter for The Hill. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The 76th Primetime Emmy Awards were held Sunday night, but along with the red carpet and acceptance speeches came some jabs and references to the tumultuous political climate, and even some predictions for the upcoming election.
36 million registered voters in this election, and Kamala Harris and all the candidates need to pay respect to that and get experts that know Latino culture, know Latino issues, and cater to us. And then you'll get our vote. That 36 million, we're going to decide who the next president is.
Here to break down everything that happened is The Hill's Cate Martel. Cate, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. Cate, we just heard from actor John Leguizamo. He also made some comments on the Emmy stage, calling himself a, quote, DEI hire. What exactly did he mean by that? And do you think the Latino vote will have as much of an impact on the election as he says?
Well, Michael, Referring to a DEI hire, that is something that former President Trump referred to Kamala Harris a few months ago, referring to her as a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. Now, the actor in those remarks from the Emmys last night actually tried flipping the script on that term and referred to himself as a DEI hire, but referred to it as vigilance, excellence, and imagination. This is trying to take a comment that the former president was using to mock the vice president and trying to make this comment, something that they could be proud of. Now, as far as whether this does, affect the Latino voting bloc, they're a very, very powerful group of voters. And, historically, over the past few decades, you have seen that these voters tend to vote Democratic, but also that when you break down each of the recent elections, that does tend to sway. Now, what makes, I think, this type of comment so effective is that it breaks out of this political sphere and it moves more into the pop culture sphere. And these are the types of comments that make it outside of political news reporting and political discussions and make it onto people's timelines on their X posts and in their social media posts. And that's why these types of comments, I think, are so effective.
Yeah, a play on words right there. There were also several references to vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance's childless cat ladies comments. Selena Gomez, Candice Bergen, they both made mentions in their award introductions. Cate, Vance's comments seem to be haunting him. Is this really going to be a rallying cry for women?
Michael, I think these comments are going to live with Senator J.D. Vance for the rest of his political career. We keep hearing comment after comment about childless cat ladies, and it's a comment that J.D. Vance made to talk about, people in politics and people that decide not to have children. But we have seen a lot of celebrities really take this comment and turn the page on it. And, most famously, we saw last week Taylor Swift in her endorsement of Vice President Harris signed it as a childless cat lady. And this just continues to further that storyline that we continue hearing celebrity after celebrity make these comments in a way that it might have started as, a dig to people who choose not to have children, but has really, I think, backfired for Senator J.D. Vance and has become this battle cry we've seen for people on the left and progressives who want to take this type of comment and really run with it.
The cast of The West Wing also took some shots at the state of politics on stage. What exactly did they say? Yeah,
they had a pretty cool reunion on stage at the Emmys. It's such an iconic show, and they made a comment saying that these far-fetched plot lines that might not have been realistic 25 years ago are now actually reality and playing out in the news. What makes this so effective is that I think this is a sentiment that a lot of people in American politics really do feel and agree with. And to take this one step further, this isn't going to just last out of the Emmys. Later this week, we're going to see the cast of The West Wing will actually be at the White House to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the show.
Shifting gears away from the Emmys now, Elon Musk is under fire for a post he made on his social media platform X. Musk said, quote, "No one is even trying," end quote, to assassinate Vice President Harris in response to the now second attempt on former President Trump's life. That post was later taken down, but what's been the reaction on both sides of the political spectrum, and what's Musk saying today?
Yeah, on both sides of the political spectrum, we've seen Elon Musk get condemned pretty broadly. That I think that while, Elon Musk has said that this was very much meant as a joke, that he's very much in the public sphere, and we have just exited possibly the second assassination attempt of the former president in just a few months. It's a scary time in American politics, and we're seeing leaders from both sides of the political spectrum calling for people to bring down the temperature in American politics. So for Elon Musk to make a comment like this at such a critical time, at such a scary time in American politics, it really didn't seem to resonate well. He is a public figure, and even if he's arguing he's making a joke, this type of joke doesn't really play well in American politics and can rub a lot of people the wrong way.
All right, Cate Martel, author of the Hill's 1230 Report, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Michael.
A federal appeals court is hearing oral arguments Monday on whether the bipartisan effort to ban the social media app TikTok is a violation of the First Amendment. The social media app sued over the law passed back in April that could ban the app in the United States. The law established a timeline for Chinese-based parent company ByteDance to either sell the platform or face a ban. It comes after widespread fears that the app could be used to collect data for the Chinese government. ByteDance says divestment is practically impossible. The decision of that comes out of arguments today will decide whether or not to block the law from taking effect as scheduled next January. Shifting gears, a newly unsealed indictment from the DOJ shows that Russia is using conservative influencers to spread its views here in the U.S. The indictment shows that 2 Russian state media employees contracted with conservative company Tenet Media to offer contracts to its band of influencers. Those influencers included Tim Pool, Dave Burt, Rubin, and Benny Johnson. The influencers have denied knowing about the scheme and in some cases are calling themselves victims of the operation. The State Department says the efforts were broader than what was in the indictment, saying a similar operation was being carried out in France. Germany says it's cracking down on irregular migration. Starting on Monday, the country began random checks at its borders with 5 Western European nations. Germany has already been carrying out the random checks at its borders with Poland, the Czech Republic, Austria, and Switzerland since last year. The change expands the policy to Germany's border with all 9 of its neighbors, and it comes in response to recent extremist attacks, including a knife attack last month that killed 3 people. That attack was blamed on a Syrian asylum seeker that claimed to be inspired by ISIS. The changes are scheduled to last for 6 months. And that's all for today's Daily Debrief. I'm Mychael Schnell. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Hill's YouTube channel, and come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.